That's the thing, though, like, because you have a show coming out, everyone thinks that this is why you are out in the media.
Everyone thinks that, oh, Scheana sold the story. Of course not. I wouldn't jeopardize my job, a friendship, anything, because, I mean, this hasn't just hurt me, hurt him. I mean, my family's being brought into this right now. My mom's getting reporters calling her, and it's like, I would never do that to my family. That's not me. I'm not that kind of person. There are quotes out there for me. It's like spring break. I mean, I don't talk like that. I don't say things like that. And obviously, someone being in the public eye all the time, he understands what it's like for people to make up rumors. Right. And I just kind of wanted to clear things up and say, you know, I didn't say this, this and that. And sometimes the best thing is to say nothing. But
well, you're not saying nothing to us, are you?
No, I'm not. I'm kind of maybe saying too much, but
these gays, they're trying to murder me.
What do I think of her?
Yes.
I don't think of her.
Read about that in the New York fucking Post.
Welcome back to Watch What Happens Live. I'm your host, Andy Cohen, and I am joined in the studio today by two pop stars that have broken records, broken gay clubs, and caused so many mental health crises, we don't have time to count them all. Let me introduce our first guest, Scheana Marie. Hi, Andy. I'm like so excited to be here. It's like so exciting, and this is definitely not what Scheana's voice sounds like, but Joan is just sort of like running on fumes right now. So this is my Scheana impression, and you know, good as gold. We've also got a very special pop star in the building. You might say she is like Scheana Marie if Scheana was Albanian. We've got Dua Lipa. Hi, Andy. I'm going to talk in a semi-British accent because I also don't know what Dua Lipa sounds like. I'm just here to say, if that ugly bitch Joan Summers ever shows her face in Europe, I'm going to cut her fucking throat. Yeah, stream Houdini. Whoa, that was some real intensity, Dua Lipa. Let's get on with our episode at Eating for Free, the podcast recording live from the absolute edge of the internet. It's Watch What Happens Live. Hi, everybody. My name is Joan Summers, your local gossip.
Oh, I'm so privileged to watch this one-woman show. This is your Watch What Happens Live prisoner, Matthew Lawson. Been here for weeks. Haven't been able to leave the studio.
I come and I go. Watch me for I go. Houdini. I
just imagine you coming in different wigs into the studio and locking the door behind. And you're like, until next week, guys.
Find a way.
So you might be able to tell that Joan has a new cut, a new color.
That's my Houdini impression. Yeah, you could say I got a new cut, a new color.
This is you on red.
This is Wendy Williams pointing behind the screen and says, "What do we think about Dula Peep?" Like this red. Oh God. So yeah, you guys can't see it, but if you go to my Instagram, you'll be able to see it. I have gone full Fire Engine red, like full Dua Lipa era burgundy red. And it's fabulous. I have literally entered a new phase of my life.
A new woman. She's
Matt
a new girl.
And I keep getting this from people. Like I was FaceTiming a friend. And then my stylist, like literally when she was washing the color out, she's like talking to herself like, oh my God, it looks so good. Like, and then at the end, I love my stylist. Shout out Kylie. And colorist too. She looks in the mirror at me and she goes, "Thank you so much for bringing me this color.
I know,
it
that's
looks
right.
so good." And everyone was like gagged when it like I came up out the chair like Jesus, like literally like, oh, Like, it's literally a whole new era, and my skin looks amazing.
Yeah,
this red is like the
I know I'm seeing on
perfect color
Zoom,
for me.
but something's happening. The contrast is crazy. Like,
yeah, okay, listen, we're gonna just say this, get it out of the way. I don't believe in the like color theory shit in the way that people talk about it, because the way that a lot of people talk about it is like eugenicsy. Like, if you go on those, like
if you're red, you got fiery passion and like dominance, that kind of
where
shit.
they're like, if you have blue eyes and pale skin, you are a true winter. Oh. And then like all the examples they show are of like pale white women for all of the colors.
Oh, it's definitely giving eugenics.
Yeah. And then like if like the only colors they ever make like black women or people of color are like autumn, like deep autumn, deep winter, where you're like, this feels racist.
This feels a little coded.
And also it's just like sort of this like hard and fast, like, this is how you were born, and there is a set of genetic markers that have made it so that you can never wear the color blue, like that kind of shit just feels like eugenicsy to me, right? Like, there is a point where I start to think they're going to start like measuring skull shapes too. Like, it just is a little bit much. But I was told that for most of my life, have thought that I am like leaning towards like the warmer side of the color palette. So I've worn like warm earth tones and like gold jewelry, like deep gold jewelry, not like a white gold, and like just like earthy colors, right? Like very
California,
muted,
honestly.
Warm California colors. Yeah.
Especially the gold.
And that I feel like more recently, as I've like been getting older and getting better at my skin and makeup and stuff, has just like not really been working for me. Like, a lot of my makeup was like peachy, corally, just because I thought that was like what looked good on me. But then I was just sort of having these days and weeks where I was like, every time I put makeup on, I just like really don't like the way my makeup looks. It like, my skin looks like dead or lifeless, like no matter how much I put on or like what kind of eyeshadow I used. And a lot of my makeup kind of favored like the warm, peachy, corally colors. And so more recently, I had somebody say to me, and then my stylist kind of like confirmed this just with like the colors, that like I actually seem to kind of lean more like neutral toned, and my palette, you might say, favors more like deep, like cool and neutral, like jewel tones and like blues and purple and green, like really like bright, clear colors, like silver jewelry. Even like I put on some silver jewelry and I was like, why did I always think I didn't look good in silver jewelry, right? And I would remember all these clothes I have that like have silver buttons, silver zippers,
because
like
you were in that mind
silver
prison about
and I would think
what
like,
you thought you had to wear.
Yeah, it would be like, oh, like those clothes are the kinds I favored, right? Like clothes with like visible silver elements and like chains and stuff. But then I'd be like, oh, I need gold or whatever. I think it's just California mentality, right? Like, that's just very California style. So I've been sort of changing my look. And this red, as you can tell, is like almost like a purpley red.
It is,
like it's
it's
like
a
very
deeper, cooler. Not warm
it's
red.
like very cool toned, like very like ruby red.
That's why
like,
red's
with
one of
like
the
a
best
little bit of
colors,
purple.
it can go those like both ways.
Yeah, and so I have just sort of like felt transformed. Like, when they put this hair on me, like literally I was like, whoa. I literally feel like a different person, like just how bright it looks. So I'm excited. I'm like sort of revamping my wardrobe. I'm like getting different makeup that I think is going to like favor me more. Like,
oh yeah, now it's time to
try
try everything again. Like,
yeah, like throwing out all my like pink and like not like pink, but like my corally, peachy blushes that I have, and then like introducing like magenta and fuchsia blushes and stuff. So I'm excited. It's a new era for me.
Journey.
But I'm very cool toned, I guess, or like favor those cool colors. And you might also say that my sister in this palette, Liv Tyler is one of them, and Zooey Deschanel is the other, which like feels like obvious.
Too powerful.
But then Scheana Marie also. So, me and Scheana, kind of the same.
The Scheana Marie, Liv Tyler, like triangle of it all. Zooey Deschanel. Yeah. It's quite women.
Brunette girls who, friend of the show, Jack would say, need to put brown contacts in because of just like...
That is you sometimes. I'm like, put those away. Close your eyes.
Me and Liv Tyler giving the like Miley Cyrus fluoride stare like
it's
all
pretty
the time.
intense sometimes.
But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Vanderpump fucking rules, guys. Sorry, I'm just like having a moment where I just feel so energized.
Oh no,
and
you got a haircut,
refreshed.
new color. Like, it's a big moment.
Like, I feel like I've been charged like a crystal. Like, I literally am
It's the red dye 40 hitting the brain.
I am the platonic ideal of Kristen Doughty's James May woman, and that I've like charged my rose quartz on the pantry shelf, and I have my like I don't know, what's a crystal?
Oh, like a ruby or sapphire.
Yeah, I have my
like,
ammonite necklace. Like, you just know
amethyst.
Those, like, No, but those are gems.
Oh,
crystals, babe.
Girl, I don't know this. I'm not in that world.
Wait, let's look up.
You're doing tarot. You're doing tarot now. You got red
crystals.
hair. Talking about your crystals. Like, wow, that happens so quickly.
I had somebody, by the way, say to me on the Patreon, I think, like, Joan, I have such a hard time believing that you're straight because you have a hummus recipe. And like, I felt so attacked by that.
It's because you're around a bunch of lesbians.
No, but like, we've got our like tourmaline and our Amazonite and our agate, our tiger's eye, charging our aventurine.
So wait,
everyone's gonna be
gems
like
are different than crystals?
Our
Like,
citrine.
what exactly is the difference?
Wait, don't get me started.
It's like me asking about the canals of Venice.
versus
You can't do it again.
gems versus crystals. Gems are known as gemstones. They are crude and rare pieces of minerals. Crystals are pure substances composed of atoms, molecules, or ions arranged in three-dimensional lattices.
T. I knew that.
T. Wig, you could say. So we're here to talk about Vanderpump Rules, you guys. This is the official part 5 because we are now progressing the timeline forward. We are getting back to it. We had our little Sandoval scary moment last episode.
It was.
And I will say this is actually an episode that, canonically speaking, also is in direct communication with our Jonas Brothers series. If you remember, we had a little interlude at one point in the Jonas Brothers series where we talk about their various friends in the LA Nickelodeon extended universe, Disney Channel extended universe. Scheana Marie made a cameo in that episode. So you can actually say that Scheana Marie is sort of like the most important person to 2000s pop culture because she
bridged the gap between Beverly Hills and
Vanderpump
and Jonas Brothers.
And we have Eddie Cibrian, we have the Jonas Brothers, we have John Mayer. Like, she is the straw that stirs the drink, excuse me. She is the spoke of the wheel, right? Mm-hmm. All connections in Los Angeles flow out from Scheana Marie. And really, she is the center of the universe in many ways. And she's the center of this episode. So I'm very excited. We uncovered some things in this episode about the titular star of Vanderpump Rules that I took you on a journey on already about, but we're really going
There's
to dig
some fun
in this
photos.
episode.
You thought last week's photos were fun?
You thought last week's photos were fun? I will say, like, I feel like doing this series has truly awakened me to my calling in life, and you too, where like I have just like overturned rocks that have never been overturned. I have,
and by rocks you mean
into
YouTube videos with 32 views on them.
Yes. And archived college humor links that you can't Google search anymore. You can only get through the archive or like forum pages where they were reposted. Like, truly, we are in the actual content mines this episode, and I'm so excited to get started. So let's pick up where part 4 left off. We were talking a little bit at the end of that episode before we did our intermission about how it was announced in January 18th, 2012 that Lisa Vanderpump would be getting a Real Housewives spinoff. So at the time, a network insider told the Huffington Post, quote, "Bravo has taped a pilot with Lisa for her own show and is now deciding if they want to greenlight a full series based around her life and family. They do not rush into these sorts of things, but if all goes according to plan, Lisa will soon have her own reality television show." A friend of Lisa's allegedly told HuffPost, quote, "This would be a dream come true. Initially, the producers were not sure they even wanted her to be part of the Beverly Hills cast, but were won over when they met her flamboyant house guest Cedric Martinez, who moved back in with her once the show started filming before everything turned bad." We're not going to get into the Cedric stuff. That's another series, but it is really interesting that in the beginning, actually, and this is something that I saw a lot throughout, and you're actually going to see it in this Daily Beast piece that we have next. For a lot of the like early Vanderpump Rules sort of like filming period where Bravo hadn't formally announced the series or that like this is what they were doing, they had a bunch of insiders at the network sort of like leaking little details that Lisa was getting her own show. And the cast seemed to be aware on Beverly Hills that Lisa was getting the own show because there's all these like news items and gossip things and like little blinds and like little interviews where like either Lisa or the cast is responding to the fact that she might be getting her own show. But no one is saying that it is going to be based around her restaurants. Everyone's thinking that it's going to be about like her life at home in Pandora and her children and like, you know, like sort of like what goes on at closed doors. But I think it was smart that Bravo ultimately never went that route because that's just what the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is, right? Like, why do we care what Lisa Vanderpump's home life is like because we watch it on TV already? No, I'm just saying like...
No, I mean with Hulu's doing it right now with Villa Rosa. Like, what's her life like in France, her new France house? And that show like this, like that one would have been the past, likely won't last very long because it's not very interesting.
Because like that's not really what people want, right? Like, so almost immediately, February 6, 2012, the Daily Beast publishes a piece with Lisa, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Lisa Vanderpump dishes. So this is like mid-reunion. And if you remember, this is season 2, I believe, reunion. And they were sort of like mid the reunion. And if you remember that season, Adrian had accused Lisa of leaking stuff to Radar Online. That was also the season where Taylor's husband, I believe he committed suicide in season 2.
It was after season 2, before season 3. But this is like
between. But this is like before. This is right when it was And also it was like that season was where they were sort of like questioning her about her home life.
It's when also Camille had that sit down moment where she basically admitted on camera that.
But now we said it and everyone knows. Yes. And Lisa was in like a lot of trouble that season because she was seen as like callous and kind of like casually cruel to Taylor.
The manipulator also like kind of choosing sides for people.
In this piece, Lisa says, and I know we're not necessarily doing this about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, but I think that this is a really interesting setup to like things that don't play out for another 12 years, and you'll see why in a second. So, quote, "Apparently I'm in trouble with the other women. They don't get my humor. I'm not vicious," she goes on, quote, "The Maloof hoof, I thought that was funny." Of course, as this writer notes, Adrian did not. The comment caused the normally snoozy, impartial heiress to actually get something close to mad. Things got more heated when Adrian accused Lisa of leaking a gossip item to Radar Online. Vanderpump rolls her eyes, quote, "Look, I've had 26 restaurants and nightclubs. One, called Zoo Bar, was one of the most avant-garde nightclubs in London. I've seen everything." Matt, can you look up Zoo Bar in London?
Yes, very
Also,
curious.
we have some London spies that listen to this podcast and sort of send us info about London. If you are one of those London spies, can you tell us blind items and or gossip and or any background information on Zoo Bar?
The Zoo Bar and Club is still open right now, by the way. Very interesting.
Do you see interiors? Does it look?
It's got 3.5 star avant-garde. It looks literally any other club.
Okay. Can someone fact check if it was one of the most avant-garde clubs in London?
I'm sure she's talking about like decades back, probably.
Yeah.
Not at the time.
I also love, I've seen everything. She said, pulling apart a salmon tea sandwich that Ken had dotingly delivered to the table. He continued to putter about in the background for the duration of our chat, stopping by every once in a while to see whether she needed him for anything. Quote, "I've seen people..." Okay, are you ready for this, Matt? Are you sitting down?
Yes.
You're sitting down.
Yes.
If you're driving the car, please just pull over. Quote, "I've seen people who are gay pretending to be straight, straight pretending to be gay, sleeping with each other's wives. I say nothing. I see a lot, say a little, and write nothing. I'd be a billionaire if I could sell stories. Do you want to buy a story?" She waited a beat and then cackled to herself mirthfully, causing Jiggy to once again stir. "I've seen people who are gay pretending to be straight, straight pretending to be gay."
I want to know
That's
about that
you,
one.
by the way. I'm gay pretending to be straight, and you're straight pretending to be gay. So underneath the jokiness, quote, it was clear the reunion was tough to relive. What in particular had stung? You know, Taylor saying, oh, your ego's out of control. And she did that whole thing. Oh, your picture's on your iPad. Yes, it is. And there's my sex monster lying on top of me.
Oh, here she
And
goes.
then, according to the writer, she, quote, holds up her iPad and shows her screensaver image, she and Jiggy looking blissfully post-coital.
Ugh. We don't need that. We
What
don't need
is
that.
happening? Okay. So this is the part that I say is a little seed that gets planted that hasn't been sown until one, Rachel Levis went to agricultural school and sowed this harvest, reaped this harvest, excuse me.
Yes.
I'm mad at myself that I ruined the punchline to that because that was a good setup. And I will just say, I'm going to punish myself for that later.
Yeah.
So she said that, so Kyle in this reunion accuses Lisa of preying on the weak. Listen to that.
What she does.
Preying on the weak. She says, quote, you watch and think and you say, she's a friend of mine. She's apologized for it on her blog, but it still hurts. And then when asked if she's coming back, says, am I coming back? Look, let's be honest. The season hasn't even been picked up yet. Of course, with the staggering, phenomenal ratings, I'm sure it will be, but who knows? It has not been picked up. And the day it is picked up, if they ask me, I will consider. Read, she's totally coming back. So a little bit later, they ask her about this rumored spinoff, and she says, what would it be about? What is the focus of it, et cetera, et cetera. And Lisa goes, my sex life, my sordid sex life.
God, I could see the laugh and smile she's doing as
Yeah.
she says it.
Mm-hmm.
My sex life, of course. My sordid sex life.
My sordid sex life. But I love that I get this little like peek into sort of like what people were fixated on with Lisa in the beginning. And it's so interesting that Kyle is the one to say that she preys on the weak. And in season 2, Lisa is saying in interviews like, I don't know, is Kyle really my friend? Because that's not something a friend would say about me. And it's like, oh, Lisa, honey, you've got a big storm coming. You've got a big storm coming that is shaped like a very teeny dog named Lucy Apple Juicy. So if you remember way, way back, we had a Hollywood Reporter story in, I believe, part 3 that sort of detailed like the rise and eventual kingdom of Lisa Vanderpump on Vanderpump Rules. And I'm getting those details from that story a few episodes ago. So they're talking about what Housewives did for Lisa Vanderpump and how it got spun into what we know as Vanderpump Rules. So, quote, Housewives proved to be a much bigger platform than Vanderpump anticipated. Functioning as the series' one-woman Greek chorus with a British accent, she gained a following for her dry commentary, wry double entendres, and chessmaster approach to castmate confrontations. Though her personal life was on display, her professional life was largely left on the cutting room floor. So in 2011, Vanderpump and Real Housewives producer Alex Baskin of Evolution Media began discussing a spin-off at SUR that would focus on the lives of waiters and bartenders, with Vanderpump occasionally stepping in as a boss and maternal figure. Bravo at the time, and this is really interesting, the writer says that at the time, Bravo said that a show that would focus on restaurant staff, which would primarily be like, quote, kids in their 20s, wouldn't really work very well with the NBC Universal brand that was the Real Housewives, because they were like, this is aspirational cable, which is interesting because remember, one of the things Lawrence Lasnik said is that the Bravo brand is supposed to be like cultural commentary and like highbrow, sort of like high-low. This is like seemingly trashy, but we're looking at it in like an artful way. And we're supposed to be like inside the lives of America's classy elite, right? And it's kind of catered to like upper middle class, city dwelling girls and gays that have a little bit of disposable income. And eventually we see that marketing shift approach kind of change to, or the marketing approach shift to include what we now see as like the BravoCon audience, which also I would still say is largely upper middle class considering like the price it takes to go.
Yes.
But, you know, it's supposed to be not necessarily just aspirational, but like highbrow aspirational, right? The same as Top Chef.
Well,
and it's interesting No, you first.
Oh, I was going to say, like, when we read that piece all the way back in like 2007, where basically what they want is not necessarily women that, you know, you want to become them, but they are of the wealth class and status and relevance to where you might run into them in those spaces. And you are kind of there to not only be like, oh, I like that they have this money or like they have this, but also make fun of, oh, they're really tacky with it or they fight a lot.
They saw them as like proto-influencers.
But the problem
basically.
is with Vanderpump Rules, the concept is almost like cutting out the entire top level of that of, oh, they're in these big spaces. Are important and just being trashy and tacky the entire time.
Yes. Yeah. And no, what I'm saying is it's interesting because in this piece, Lauren Zlaznik says, quote, cottage cheese ceilings are antithetical to Bravo.
Sorry.
Because
guys.
that's actually what Bravo, I feel like, has
Sir
become.
restaurant specifically.
Yeah. Or just their apartments. You know, she's like cottage cheese ceilings and vertical blinds. I don't want to see it on Bravo.
Exactly. And you know
but
what?
That's interesting because I feel like even by 2011, especially with the introduction of Vanderpump Rules, that had started to change so quickly and has changed throughout that decade. I think we see a slow evolution away from the high glamour, glitz, and glam of like the mainstays, like early Atlanta, early Beverly Hills, early New York. And I say this with love because many of these shows are still very good. But like you look at what New Jersey has become, where most of them live in the suburbs and like sort of like row housing.
I mean, it's kind of the same
tract
as it started,
housing.
really.
Yeah, but like, you know, there's like an element of like middle class cheapness where it's like you look at New Jersey and you're like, oh, I could be these women. I go to the pickup line with these women, right?
Exactly.
Same with Potomac. There isn't like a level of aspiration on Potomac because those are just like middle class women.
All their homes
for the
are
most
so
part.
ugly.
For the most part, right? Like
So
Robin
hideous.
is living in like a new development tract
Like 2
home,
hours
right?
outside of town.
Yeah.
Giselle
With
in
like
her
a-
Home Depot like a house.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like those types of shows we have. There was another one that I was thinking of when I was thinking about this, but like, you know, Summer House also, which gets introduced very quickly after Vanderpump Rules, is like sort of the same thing where it's like trashy, like low middle class New York millennials that are like partying and drunk and living in cheap, shitty apartments.
Kind of in there too, but it's a little higher
Southern
though,
Charm,
because they come from
Southern
money,
Charm
right?
is meant to originally it was meant to be aspirational because it's an old show. I think it just had its 10th season, but I think again you see that evolution in a show like Southern Charm where now it is not about the like high society of
It's not about the
Southern charm at all. Like it's not about the high society of Charleston. We have other shows like Southern Hospitality, which is sort of like trying to milk the Vanderpump Rules approach. And so it's interesting that where we are in the timeline in 2011 is really a turning point. And Vanderpump Rules, I would say, confidently, is that turning point where it opens a door to both a new audience for Bravo, but also completely shifts Bravo's approach to its programming. They lean into the trash. They lean into the catfights. They lean into this like jaw-dropping drama, confrontations, conflict, and really move away from the lifestyle porn that they made their bread and butter on in the early decade with the Real Housewives of Orange County. You even see that on Orange County where like suddenly we're not really shopping with them at Tiffany's.
Nope.
We are at a suburban home doing a bunko party, like screaming in Gretchen Rossi's face with like a bunch of like nobodies, right?
It's like Taco Tuesday night, really.
Yeah, it's like Taco Tuesday night at the Burger King.
Versus
like,
Beverly Hills in the beginning where they're like, we're doing a private shopping at the Hermes shop for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like, you spend like 30 grand.
They're not even doing that now, right?
No,
like,
that's true. Girl, we're in the Buca di
we've-
Beppo Italia room.
We've spent a significant chunk of the most recent season of the Beverly Hills, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, in the Valley.
Upsetting.
In the Valley, in a like again new development tract home that still has dirt lots all around it. Like Love and Light to Garcelle, but like let's be honest, you know. So, anyways, As Lauren Zalazing says, cause sheet ceilings are antithetical to Bravo. She also says, this writer, quote, if Abby fans were equally interested in servants and gentry, a few ugly couches wouldn't keep Real Housewives viewer from following drama a few miles outside of Beverly Hills. Somebody who said that it was going to be a show about wannabes, Vanderpump says, everybody who's waiting tables in Hollywood is a wannabe something or other. That's why it's interesting. One former network executive tells The Hollywood Reporter, quote, as poor as they were all attractive. So from there, this initial sort of like pre-development, they're casting the show. It makes it to air with a test 8-episode order, where we see this a lot with very like early Bravo shows that are these non-Housewives format style shows where they will get like a quick 8-9 episode season just to kind of see like what people are feeling. And like the first seasons of Southern Hospitality, the first season of Real Girlfriends in Paris,
Dancing Queens.
We've had a few other shows like this, Dancing Queens. You know, they don't get a reunion. Maybe they'll get like a Watch What Happens Live thing for their like final season
lucky,
or final episode if they're lucky. But that's about it. You know, like they don't really get the like proper treatment because Bravo doesn't really want to fly Andy out and like get them all to New York, you know, like rent a studio, do the set, all that stuff. If it's not really going to work out for them, right? That's something that you get once you've sort of established yourself as like a show that can pull in audiences. So they get this 8-episode order. By the time its, quote, annual episode count had swollen to 24, diners were showing up at SUR in hopes of seeing the cast, and at least for a few years, they could easily get a table in the same section as the waitress whose marriage they knew wouldn't last, or order a drink at the bar from the recovering Lothario, aka Jax, who'd slept with an alarming percentage of the cast. I got that directly from The Hollywood Reporter. And that's interesting, too, because that is such a different period in Vanderpump Rules, where it's
absolutely.
One of the early draws of the show was that you could go to SUR and see Katie Maloney waiting tables. It quickly became something else. And one of my conspiracy
maybe like
theories,
a good 2 seasons you could do that easily before it became corny and weird.
One of my like long-standing conspiracy theories that I believe is true, no matter what anyone tells me, is that one of the pretenses of the show was about firing staff. And I always felt like that was a pretense to get them out of the restaurant so that if people came to see them and they didn't see them, then it was like, oh, well, he got fired from SUR. He's not working there anymore, right? Even if like he never worked at SUR or he didn't actually do anything wrong, that it was about kind of like getting them out of the restaurant on TV so that if people showed up and like Kristen Dowdy wasn't there, that like she wasn't going to like cause drama for them by not being there. And people are like, where the fuck is Kristen Dowdy? Right? She got fired. She's not there.
And then they can
Same with
stay and
James,
like talk trash about them with all the other staff that are there.
Yeah, exactly. It allowed for like a friction. I genuinely think that sort of is like gesturing at the truth, but I also think that Kristen made it very hard to be employed full time.
I mean, all of them were difficult to be in the room for any amount of time.
So we have one little less comment that Lisa gives to OK Magazine. And she says that, you know, she's talking about the crew on Vanderpump Rules. And she says, quote, the production company that Beverly Hills and Vanderpump Rules work with are so true to form and they're so authentic and they can tell a story. That's why I never ask for anything to be taken out of the shows. The only thing I've ever asked to be taken out in reality TV is the moment I fainted on Dancing with the Stars. I said, please, please, please take it out. I look like such an idiot. And they said no. And I'm including that just to say that, like, according to Lisa, you know, it's all very much what you see is what you get. These are shows that are true to life and everything that happens makes it into the edit and we don't have any control over how we look. I don't even have any control over how I look and it's my show.
I don't believe it.
You know, exactly.
Not for a second.
So that's the last that we've got of the non-Vanderpump Rules related, you know, happenings, the sort of like culture around the show. Now, let's dive into some rapid fire factoids about the actual cast. So last episode, we talked about Tom Sandoval and his early origins. And this is going to be about the rest of the main cast. And I am going to be going through this quickly. Now, Ariana will be included in this, whereas people like Lala and James will not be included in this just because they come in a little bit later. And ultimately, I have other designs for them that are outside the purview of this episode. So let's get started. We're going to start with just general factoids. So there's this interview from Glamour 02-13-13. Vanderpump Rules tells us all about the behind the scenes gossip, including the crazy story of how Jax and Stassi met. Matt, you're going to read for Jax and the interviewer, and then I will read for the girls. Let's get started.
Have you guys, or how did you guys get hired at SUR?
Stassi. Everyone who starts working there is either a friend of a friend or they know someone. We never really hire anyone who walks off the street and hands in a resume. I had friends who were working there and I was always coming in for drinks, and I figured I might as well work there. I'm here all the time. Scheana. I worked at Villa Blanca and Lisa asked me to come over here, so now I'm at both.
Jax, I spent the last 10 years modeling. That's a lot of ups and downs in the industry, and there was a lull. I was getting lazy, and I remember one night there was short a bartender. Stassi called me up and was like, "You want a job? Come here right now." It sounds weird, but it's actually harder to get a bartending job in this town than it is to get an acting job. It's extremely difficult. They don't care what your experience is. It's sad to say, but it goes on a looks thing. It's basically, can we get a headshot? We don't care if you've served before. Can we just have a headshot?
Stassi, not just in SUR, but in LA in general. And it's funny that Jax says the exact same story that Tom said, right?
Yep.
And I have a theory about this. If you remember from our last episode, Tom's like, yeah, man, it's like fucking difficult to like get a freaking bartending job. Like literally, it's like the most difficult
he said,
job
like,
to get.
Waitering even, like just anything in the restaurant industry is harder than an acting job.
I have this like theory / like mental image of them in their disgusting vertical blind sex pest apartment where Tom Schwartz was living in the living room behind a sheet.
The cum covered sheet.
They're all in there and they're coming home to their like cum stained palace.
The wall-to-wall carpet that is like 3 shades off what it was when they moved
Tom
in.
is like lamenting having to work as a waiter because he's only booking these chicken shit gigs. And Jack's like, no, man, Tom, you have to think about like bartending is hard work in LA. And like, it's an accomplishment to be a bartender. Like, you know, we might not have booked anything, but we're fucking bartenders in West Hollywood, and that's a very difficult job to get. And Tom's like, yeah, man, you're so right. And that's just the story they all
tell
told
each
themselves.
other.
Yeah, you know, that's the story they say to sort of like make life worth living because they're such egomaniacs that it's the only thing getting them out of bed in the morning to their bartending jobs is that it's actually better to be a bartender than a working actor because being a bartender is a harder job to get.
It definitely makes it easier to
that.
sleep at night, I assume.
So when you guys found out you were going to be a reality... Oh, sorry, you're reading for the interviewer.
When you guys found out you're going to be doing a reality show, what was your reaction?
Scheana says, quote, I was totally against it. I wanted no part of it. Sure, Scheana. Stassi, I didn't know that. We never talked about that. Scheana says, deep down, even that little bit I did on the hills, I was like, I should totally do this. But when I was approached initially, I was like, no, I want to do acting. No one is going to take me seriously. And then Lisa said, no, you're going to do this. And that is case study number 1 of Lisa taking advantage of weak-minded people. And then Lisa said, no, you're going to do this. The whole aspect of the show was described to me and how it was a very much career-driven show, showing us working toward what we want to do with our careers. Then that made me feel better about it. I have no regrets. And if I didn't do it, I would be sitting at home beating myself up. Stassi, quote, you would be pissed.
The interview then asks, is there anyone on staff who said no?
Stassi says, a lot of people said no, and I think they're kicking themselves right now. Right when I got this opportunity, I was like, yes, I'm going to own that shit. I was so excited.
Jax, you have the actors who want to stay away from the whole reality thing, but things have changed. Look at Nene Leakes. She's on 2 shows. It used to be that if you were reality, you were black marketed. It's not like that anymore.
Black marketed? I love black marketed.
I know, I was going to say, I literally thought I was
to...
like blacklisted.
No, they're idiots. He's like black. You're black marketed.
Oh, not like
he's
that.
Like you're getting. He's like if you're in reality television, you're getting trafficked. I mean, Like,
Yeah, like I'm being treated.
like actually, Jax, yeah, I'm sure you're acquainted with the black market, Jax. I'll just say that.
Well, he says it's not like that anymore. The girls from Sir, some of the girls who want to be actresses are like, no, I'm anti that. But now they see how big it's becoming. I love that show Nene was on being canceled like after 2 years and her like never really getting backlash since then.
I know. Don't even
Like
get me
they bring
started.
that gets brought up so many times in early Housewives stuff. Was like, look, you can get into all these other gigs, and then never happens again.
No, babe, no. Okay, so we have this little Meet Stassi video from BravoTV.com that is going to be our intro to Stassi. Matt, why don't you tell us a little bit about Stassi?
Yeah, this video is hilarious. I mean, it's just like what she was saying in the interview before, where she basically is talking about how she got in the show, what got her going here. This is kind of like the meet the cast, meet the queens, like kind of video style.
Yeah.
She talks about how she was in LA for 5 years, and she's of course from Louisiana. She went to here for school. I don't know exactly what school she went out to. I want to say it was like Cal State LA, but I can't remember correctly. But anyway, she and her friends were out basically, in West Hollywood every weekend, and they were at Sir.
She went to LMU. She went to Loyola Marymount, which makes so much sense.
That makes way more sense. Yeah. They were at Sir basically every weekend. So she said, basically, why not at least make some money while I'm here? I think it's very funny how the guys have this, like, it's so hard to get this bartending job. Like, you have to hustle. You need headshots. Got to know who's who. And then all the girls are like, I was just here all the time. And I thought, why not get paid? And then they get immediately. Yeah. She says she was doing a lot of modeling gigs. She did some things for like Vanity Fair Italia. She was doing some kind of, big work, but nothing big enough to like, basically be a full-time job. And that her goal was to be a writer because she got a BA in English literature, preferably as a fashion writer, which I always forget is the case because I forget she has that storyline with Lisa about writing her blogs and she like never turns them in on time and
never.
There's
and
like a ton of issues. And then she writes a book and well, we know what happens there.
We know what happens there.
But she says what everyone else keeps saying, which is we're all actually best friends. Like the drama's 100% real. Like what you see is what you get.
Yeah. So Stassi gets profiled in Entertainment Tonight on November 7th, 2016. And she kind of expands on some of the stuff we were told in that Meet the Stassi video. So they are talking about how her first brush with reality TV is actually on The Amazing Race. Her family performs on The Amazing Race in 2005. And she says to the interviewer, I didn't have a chance to think about if it was something I wanted to do. It was always just something I've done. And then I realized that I was kind of good at it. She says that she watched a lot of reality TV growing up, like The Real World, Girls Next Door. But when she was still a brunette, she competed on the CBS series, obviously, with her dad, Mark, her stepmom, and her brother when she was 17, quote, at my awkward stage. They placed 7th out of 10, so like basically almost last.
Like they left like the second episode.
She says, quote, I remember why we lost because my family didn't listen to me because I'm always right. If they would have just listened to me.
Oh, my God.
She also says that, she's not shy about telling her dad that he is the reason that they lost the show. He's like, Stassi, come on. You'd have to get you and me back on. We could do it together. And I'm like, Dad, that ship has fucking sailed. You didn't listen the first time. Absolutely not. Unless you're willing to make me the boss. So when she moves to LA in 2008, the people who were working on The Amazing Race are working on a new show called Queen Bees, which is about 7 mean teens forced to live under one roof. It aired for 1 season on that weird cable network, The N, and was hosted by ANTM winner. She says that it is the most embarrassing thing that she's ever done in her entire life. She says that the show was the biggest mindfuck that I've ever experienced. I lied about who I was. I had to tell stories about how I was mean to people and I made them all up. Most of the girls in there were not like actual mean girls, but they filmed us 24/7 and we lived in a house for a month and had therapy every day. So we convinced ourselves that we were bad people that needed therapy, that I was actually mean. Once it ended, I was like, I just had to do a full-on method acting to make this work. And then to bounce back afterward, I had nightmares for, oh my God, so long after that show. That cameras were always filming me and making me do something I'm not. When you're filmed 24/7, it's scary. I couldn't do that again.
I'm like obsessed with how traumatized she was from this experience. Like, especially because she comes off as the mean girl, like episode 1. She really says, I am the devil.
Say this. That's what's so funny
but now
about
I know,
it
like,
is
she
that,
really
like,
was just method acting.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is like the thing with Stassi is that like she is a little bit high on her own supply.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she genuinely doesn't think of herself as like a mean girl.
I mean,
but she says that like I'm method acting. I'm not mean. I've never been mean. Like I'm not, that's not who I am. And then, like, her entire tenure on Vanderpump Rules is about terrorizing her
she
castmates.
literally is known as the Queen Bee, like Lily, no pun intended.
Yeah, like,
she's
she's like, I'm an evil bitch, and don't you ever forget it that I run this shit and I hate you all. Like,
yes.
That's literally
like
her whole
episode.
vibe. Her first scene on the show is being like, Scheana's such a stupid, dumb bitch who slept with other people's husbands, and I just think she's a trash whore.
I mean, that's why we love these Bravo shows, though, is because every single year these people get on, they act a fool, and then they're like, that's not who I am. I'm not that kind of person. But they do it for like 10 years consecutively.
I'm different. So there is this failed pilot called Staycation. She says that should have ended up on Bravo, but then really didn't end up on Bravo in the end and never got picked up. She says that had she not done this show Staycation, it would probably have never worked out that she was on Vanderpump Rules. She auditioned for the reality show, which was about girlfriends who go on vacation in the Bahamas and wind up staying with Kristen Dowdy. Oh. And if you remember, Christina Kelly.
Ooh.
So Christina Kelly and Kristen auditioned for this show called Staycation. Her boyfriend at the time, Jax, also comes on as this guy that she like supposedly meets in the Bahamas, even though that they were like
they're all just
still
liars.
on TV. They're not on TV, sorry. They were already still boyfriends and girlfriend. Like that it just seems like a very constructed like Hills type TV show where it's like very artificial, and I can see why it didn't get picked up, right? Because like Stassi's not that good of an actor, and neither is Jax,
and especially Jax.
Certainly not Kristen or Christina Kelly either. So I don't see that how they could have like successfully sold the fantasy that they were just like three glamorous girls in the Bahamas and like, oh, here comes my random new boyfriend Jax, who I met on vacation, even though they had probably been dating, I think, for like a year at that point. So this show obviously never gets it to air, and it will never see the light of day. And she says, like, thank God that it doesn't. But it was a good lesson for her, because she says that prior to her previous experiences, which were like competition style shows, she finally got to experience what reality TV could be like if it functioned more like a sitcom or like, you know, like an actual episode of television, for scripted TV specifically. Mm-hmm. She says that she liked that, you know, you could have a schedule, you clock in and out. These are the days you work. These are the days you don't, as opposed to like a competition show where you're always on, you're always filmed. You're in like life or death situations, so to speak. So, quote, after we all saw The Hills, that's when people started to be like, I'll be a reality person because look at what happened for them. And we have the same producers, she notes. Quote, so they're really good at manipulating us. Who is the real Stassi? Asked this interviewer. And she says, quote, that is a loaded question and I don't know. Every day that it goes by, I realize I don't know shit about life. I look back on season 1 and I'm like, I'm 23 years old. I know exactly what I want and I don't want. I literally know nothing now. I feel like my opinionatedness, I know that's not a word, is just deteriorating because I'm like, I don't know anything.
Well,
oof. Wish you had known a little bit more because maybe you'd still be on TV. So I got some like
23 and being on Vanderpump Rules. I'm just sorry. I just think of what, like, the brains are barely formed. Like,
no, I know. It would have destroyed the best of us. So there's something very interesting that is sort of like the buried lead about her time on The Amazing Race. There isn't actually much written about the show Queen Bee. Actually, from what I could find, there's like nothing accessible that was written, sort of like stuff that probably lives on in microfiche about that show, because like it really did not make an impact, right? She doesn't have any like press about it. Like there wasn't anything that I could find, like interview clips or like video, red carpet,
it's so
nothing
weird.
like that.
Yeah.
So there is, however, quite a lot of press about her time on The Amazing Race. And do you know why?
Oh, no, I don't. I've never even really seen the show, honestly.
It's because Mark Schroeder, her dad, says that The Amazing Race helped them to survive Hurricane Katrina, and it makes the news. So this is in September 27th, 2005.
What?
This is a CBS News item from the time. Race family preps one for storm. Race preps one family for Storm. Quote, for most contestants, it was the adventure of a lifetime. But for the Schroeder family of New Orleans, it turned out to be a dress rehearsal for Hurricane Katrina.
Okay.
I think it's a crazy phenomenon that a reality show would prepare you for real life, Charles Schroeder says. But the race absolutely prepared us. As Hurricane Katrina hurtled towards New Orleans, the Schroeder family headed out of harm's way. When we left, we actually packed our race bags and ran out with our race bags. The Schroeders took refuge with friends they met while taping The Amazing Race, the Rogers family of Shreveport, Louisiana. Now living in a rental home near Baton Rouge, Mark Schroeder, his children, Stassi and Hunter, and their stepmother, Char, wait to rebuild the home and life they left in New Orleans. The early show co-anchor, Harry Smith, accompanied Mark and Char as they returned for the first time to assess the damage. Quote, we grew up in the lakefront, says Mark, and you think, is it ever going to be the same? When we were there driving in and seeing the houses, the devastation is so vast.
It's like I laugh, but like, I guess they're right. Like,
it's just sad, but also like
it's upsetting, but like, yeah, I guess.
I'll say Stassi seems to be very much like parent, like child, because her dad seems really savvy. He gets a lot of press after The Amazing Race, right? Like he's talking to cameras. He's calling up news stations to be like, we survived Hurricane Katrina and we used our Amazing Race bags
to do milking
it.
that, 15 minutes.
It seems like he really does spin that 15 minutes of fame into something for a time. And it can be really kind of like an interesting parallel to how Stassi then sort of like uses that as a launch pad to get to LA and get other TV show appearances and ultimately winds up on Vanderpump Rules. I mean,
that's the game. Gotta hustle.
Very interesting. And it seems like, to be successful in this format, you sort of have to grow up doing it. Like, it takes a while. And I think it takes sort of a intercession at a early developmental stage of your brain to like really acclimate successfully to reality TV, So the lesson
could you say
is,
she's a Nepo baby with her dad's help getting on reality TV at a young age?
I mean, if they lived at the lakefront, it seems like they had money. But I will say that it is certainly an interesting lesson that the most successful reality television stars start when they're children and their brains haven't fully formed yet, because
just like
it
child
just sort of like
stars
morphs you into something else. And we see that. I was going to say, we look at people like JoJo Siwa and
Ariana
that
Grande.
YouTuber that's always opening up packages. Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not always successful, but I will say that it just prepares you for life in a different sort of way. Okay, so that's all we got for Stassi. You've got some stuff for Katie Maloney. How are these interviews with Katie? I found them and I didn't look at them yet. So I'm interested to see what you got.
Oh, they're interesting. I mean, I think they're all on like the same drug at the time. I mean, there are certain drugs that are the same, but they're definitely all on the same like mental high of like, this show's going to change our lives. And it does. We'll of course include this in the Instagram post for the show. Some hilarious photos that are from this article. When they're in those like horrid pink and white paisley Sir napkin cocktail dresses.
Oh,
neon green straps and
it's
like
some of the worst stuff
hair.
I've ever seen on my life.
There's pressed sharp blades. Okay, how about I read the interview questions and you respond as Katie for some clips we got.
Sure.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course. I'll respond like this because this is how Katie talks.
Please do. Did you have any reservations about doing Vanderpump Rules and putting your life out there on reality TV?
Well, of course, there are reservations. I think anyone would feel a little bit reluctant. I was signing on with all my best friends and the people I was closest with. That kind of gave me that confidence that it would be a positive experience and that we'd all be there for each other. I figured it was an opportunity. Who works at a restaurant and gets to be on a TV show?
Because all the drama surrounding Stassi and Jax, we haven't seen too much of your relationship with Tom Schwartz. We want to know more about you guys.
Tom and I definitely have a very quirky romance. We both love to laugh, and when we're in groups, we're little clowns. We have this little baby talk that we do, and we call each other Bubba. Kristen and Jax and Tom are always like, don't say that. We're best friends, and we live together now. We have a really strong relationship, and we know where it's going. Oh, Katie.
Headed right
Katie,
towards
babe. Katie, babe.
divorce.
Hurtling towards it, you might even say.
As I get to talk to each of you, I'm learning more about everyone than what we see on the episodes. What do you want people to know about you that we haven't seen?
I'm a very opinionated person and I do stand my ground. I just tend to take a different route. I would rather let something go than make a mountain out of a molehill. I wish there was a little bit more of me giving my opinion and saying how I felt, especially with Stassi. I was in support of her breakup with Jax. I thought it was healthy and a mature decision. I've always been Stassi's older sister. When she's upset, she calls me and I give her advice. I tend to be a bit more objective from a point of view. I try to give her the big picture, and that's just what's happening when Frank came into the picture. I was like, hold on, you just broke up. Let's think about this one.
I have to laugh at her saying she's like the older sister, Stassi. Oh.
I know. Don't even get me started.
I don't think we saw that dynamic. We know everyone at SUR has bigger plans than working at a restaurant. What's your ultimate goal, and what are you up to presently?
She says, my ultimate goal would be to own a small record label that was also under the umbrella of a music supervision company as well. Doing songs for movie and television, work with artists and supervise them. That's kind of my main goal. I'm also open to other opportunities. Presently, I'm trying to figure out what my steps are to starting a company. I didn't go to business school, so it's a learn as you go, talk to people and go from there.
The looming something about her in the distance.
There's just like a hoagie slowly fading into view. Like
she just hears in her brain, Greek goddess sandwich.
No, there's like a
why does that
like
sound familiar?
A foot long that just like every time she moves, it's on like a different surface closer and closer to her. She's like, I saw that sandwich in the garbage earlier and now it's on my front steps. And then she walks inside, closes the door, and it's waiting for her on the like little entryway table. She's like, that's weird. Throws it in the trash, walks into the kitchen, and it's on the counter. And then she throws it away again. She goes up and it's sitting on her bed.
She opens her refrigerator. It's just so many jars of mayonnaise and Dijon mustard.
She's having nightmares of like opening the closet and just like an avalanche of chicken Caesar salad like falling on top of her, like out of like just like a river of chicken Caesar salad and Greek Caesar salad, just like torrents of it just like gushing out of her closet, and she's like drowning in Caesar dressing. Yeah, I can. It's just the premonitions had to have started early, right? Like,
and she still needs to go to that business school because, girl, what is happening? A 3-year launch for a 300 square foot restaurant.
Don't even get me started. So
we have another one.
An interview with her in the Salt Lake City Tribune. What's this one all about?
I love the title. Utah actress lives a reality TV life on Vanderpump Rules.
Utah actress. You know, there are times I actually was catching this in this particular season. You know, people always joke about Whitney's Hillen journey. And there are moments where if you really listen to Katie Maloney, you can sort of hear that Utah accent too.
The little Mormon
There was something
twinge.
where she was like, she was saying something like, I think she said like fillin'. Feeling. She said something like, I'm feeling it, you know?
She must have
and
just seen her family at that time. She was just around some Utahns.
She went back to their Salt Lake City Mexican restaurant.
I want to eat there. That's like a site of pilgrimage.
It's still open too.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
It's like a very normal restaurant.
It's a very normal restaurant with a crazy burrito on the menu.
And I want that crazy burrito. So growing up in Park City, where else? Katie Maloney always dreamed of moving to Hollywood and becoming an actress, which she did, sort of. Maloney moved to Los Angeles, got a job waitressing at a restaurant owned by one of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and became a TV star, playing herself in Bravo's reality series, Vanderpump Rules. It's the easiest acting job ever, she says. I don't have to act. I just have to be myself. I'm always as crazy as it seems, she says. Even before the show started, we always had this heightened, fast-paced, dramatic life within our group of friends. It's captured very accurately. Maloney didn't go to Vanderpump Rules. The show came to her, they say. She got a job there 4 years ago to pay her bills while she pursued her acting dreams. Oh my God, I never thought I would do a reality show, she said. I didn't want to for a long time because there was stigma attached to reality TV that I didn't want to involve myself in. So I caught myself by surprise by getting involved. She apparently got a taste of it when the Beverly Hills Housewives would shoot at SUR. They had, I think over the first few seasons, they had parties there at least like once or twice a season. And then of course Lisa popping around doing her little like duties. So she quickly got a feel for how the fans reacted when they would come into the restaurant and make it basically difficult for her to do her jobs by asking questions about other staff and Lisa Vanderpump. She said, you're at the table trying to tell them the specials, and the guests are like, oh my God, so are you or Sir Jack and Stassi back together? And I'm like, what do you want to drink? It's a really weird dynamic. And fans of the show, people she never met, feel as if they know Katie Maloney. She says, people think they have you all figured out, and they don't. Reality TV, it's all very real, but you don't get to see 24 hours of the day every day for the whole season. It's very much bits and pieces of your involvement. It's really hard for someone to have a real idea or a real conclusion for what type of person you are. And you see that in a bunch of the interviews.
You have no idea that I'm bisexual. And will one day have a Skeet Ulrich haircut.
In an Audi that smells like
and
weed.
only wear leather jackets, leather jackets and black mesh dresses with a combat boot and a dark lip and a Skeet Ulrich haircut.
But I do love that this is what you see from every single one of them is basically within the first season airing, they are all being tortured at their day jobs. They're like, we're still trying to work this restaurant, and people are coming in like, what's the latest? What's going on? Like, can I get a photo with you? So apparently the Utah native has adjusted her goals a bit since the show's airing. Trying to find work as an actress in Hollywood can be, quote, debilitating sometimes. You go out on countless auditions for months upon months and you don't get anything. So she's trying to get work doing hair and makeup for film and TV and working at SUR to pay the bills. I'm still working here, she says, still paying and waiting tables. And of course, when asked if she would appear in Vanderpump Rules and do it all over again, she says, definitely. Where was this makeup and hair moment?
I think she goes, I need to do hair and makeup for film and TV, but I'm not getting jobs and I need a storyline still. So what if I started a blog called Music Kills Kate that I have a party for and then never post anything? That actually seems like a better route to take.
That's kind of the average Vanderpump Rules career pivot, mind you.
I'm
looking at you, James May.
James May.
Actually, they did make some t-shirts.
Did you see that Kristen's wearing a James May t-shirt in the trailer for the
Valley? She
Valley?
probably has a warehouse full of them still that she's paying rent on. I'm sure she's like, we gotta hawk this shit somehow.
We get some info about Jax now, where we find out pretty early on in the show, but just to kind of color out what he was up to prior to the show, lived with Channing Tatum actually in New York, where he also famously met Tom Sandoval. And now I'm like, has Tom Sandoval and Channing Tatum ever met? That's the crossover that I
feel like that would have been
see.
mentioned, but you never know.
Yeah. So on Watch What Happens Live, like in 2015, he reveals during Two Truths and a Jack that Channing Tatum was actually his first roommate in New York when he first started modeling. Stassi, who's on Watch What Happens Live with him, says, "Did you guys hook up? That's my biggest fantasy." And of course, he doesn't respond. That would be a fantasy I would like to see. I was
going to say.
That was going to be, I'm like, you know what? I would like to see it.
Spilled.
I would like to see it. So we also have actually mostly information about his modeling years center gay rumors that come out much later.
My favorite trope at Jax, honestly, is the endless gay rumors.
The endless
Evergreen
gay rumors.
Content.
So on a recent episode of the show, Jax was confronted in 2015 about whether or not he was secretly gay. His former, quote, boyfriend, quote unquote, spoke to Radar Online about this. The man's name is Vincent DePaul and says that there was a photo circulating of the two of them at Fashion Week when they were younger. And people are like, this is Jax with his like old gay boyfriend. And Vincent says, quote, "Jax and I modeled together in Miami Beach for Dolce de Leche. We did many campaigns together for different designers in South Florida. We quickly became friends. Jax was always nice to me. People project sometimes that models and actors are gay because of their close camaraderie or friendship. If you see two guys modeling nude together for Bruce Weber, people project that they must be gay." Jax always loved his fellow models. It was a fellowship type of bonding. As for the photo, he says, we went to LA Fashion Week together. Yeah. As for the photo, he says, we went to LA Fashion Week together and were photographed. They used boyfriends in the title of what they published, but they meant boyfriend as in good friend.
Okay.
And then
sure.
He says, sexually, I'm not sure if, quote, Jax is gay. Quote, "I can tell you, though, that Jax did not mind if people saw the photo of us together with the label boyfriends. When Jax brought the photo to my attention at a house party in Beverly Hills many years ago, we laughed about it. With Jax, there is always a celebration of everyone, man or woman. He has a great sensitivity, so people can perceive anything about him. If there's 10 guys in a model apartment in Milan or Miami, and we're all sleeping together, yes, people could say that he slept with guys.
I think some people have seen
Listen,
some things.
I believe this about Jax. I don't think Jax is gay, but I do think that Jax is sort of like a hole is a hole
yeah,
type of vibe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Attention is the focus primarily.
Yeah. So another interesting thing is that this isn't the only rumored gay boyfriend that Jax has been confronted with from his past. So Vincent DePaul says that they modeled together in Miami Beach. Jax famously also lived with an older man in Miami Beach who is
my
gay,
favorite lore,
who he
honestly.
said that sort of was like his father figure
Sugar
slash
daddy.
benefactor slash sugar daddy. So John Waters was sort of a topic of conversation, and not like John. I heard John Waters
crazy.
and I was like, I know, but different John Waters was a topic of conversation that same year on Vanderpump Rules because the cast sort of like drill into Jax about living with a man in Miami that they said was like his gay benefactor. They say that like Jax says that the show set him up to look gay and that they were like basically like manipulating that storyline to make him look gay.
Yeah.
Insiders at the show told Radar Online at the time that his castmates are convinced that the quote model turned bartender 35 shared a steamy love affair with older model scout Waters while living in the same bedroom years ago in Miami. The rumor's been circulating for years, the insider explains. Everyone knew about it a long time ago. It's nothing new or surprising. However, this insider says that the SUR staff, quote, isn't quick to categorize Taylor, who was dating model Carmen Dickman last summer, as a gay man. I'm sorry.
That line is
model
hilarious.
Carmen Dickman. It's so juvenile. It's such a juvenile thing to laugh
I'm
about.
sorry,
I
but
know.
it's fucking hilarious. It just is.
Last summer as a gay man, quote, he was really young when he lived in Miami. It was just a life experience.
It just seems like the name like The Simpsons when they call Moe's Tavern to be like, is there a Carl Dickman?
So
Ivana tits like.
Now we're going to get to Scheana. Scheana, we've talked a little bit about with the Jonas Brothers episode about her rumored relationship with John Mayer. That seems to be just John Mayer having sex with her a few times and her using that to get a lot of press.
You know what?
So,
Work.
Prior to John Mayer, though, one of the other things that Scheana was in the news for was the fact that she had slept with Eddie Cibrian, who you might remember had an affair with Leanne Rimes that devolved into like, you know, Brandi's marriage falling apart. She later confronts Scheana on the show, and I have a little bit about that. But at the time, Extra reports in 2009, quote, Cibrian has also been accused of cheating with Scheana Marie Jancan, a 24-year-old model. Leanne is married to dancer Dean Shuramit, but Martin says it isn't confirmed yet whether or not Rimes will leave him. Sources say Leanne, even amidst all these rumors, is still trying to work on her marriage. Now, I'm not going to go through word for word that Scheana interview we read about John Mayer in the Jonas Brothers series because people can go back and listen to that episode, but People does run a story about Scheana and John Mayer, and I'll just quickly read it here for context. Quote, we're friends. He's a great guy. He's funny and sweet. Sources say that Marie, 23, and Mayer, 31, met in 2008 at the Beverly Hills Cigar Club Grand Havana Room, where she currently works as a bartender and cocktail waitress. Although they have not stepped out publicly, they've spent time together over the past few months, a source tells People. They're enjoying getting to know each other. Marie is also an aspiring actress. She guest stars as Maria, the pizza delivery girl of the Jonas Brothers' dreams, on their upcoming show Jonas, which debuts on the Disney Channel on May 2nd. Marie's episode airs May 16th. The former model, who has appeared in ads for Pioneer, Doritos, Nissan, and Toyota, graduated in 2006 with a bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism from Azusa Pacific University. Now, there's an even funnier piece about this in the Hollywood gossip. Scheana Marie Jancan, a former aspiring Hooters girl.
Wow.
Yesterday, we reported John Mayer and his new piece, Scheana Marie Jancan, met at the Beverly Hill Lounge where Jancan was serving up drinks. They two hit it off, exchanged numbers, and soon they were also exchanging bodily fluids at his rented home in Calabasas. God. Mayer's new plaything loves it because there's always plenty of beer and food to go around, according to celebrity gossip sources. Really. The aspiring actress, 24, has so far found more success as a waitress, though she obtained a trademark for her name, Miss Scheana Marie, just in case, and was recently named runner-up in a Hawaiian tropic pageant.
Wow.
Interesting, Scheana Jancan was only 19 when she and the other prospective Hooters girls sued the restaurant chain after they discovered they were being filmed after being instructed to don uniforms as part of their job interview.
Oh.
Now, remember that. We also talked about that with Scheana, too, where she was involved in a lawsuit where she worked at Hooters and she sued Hooters alongside other Hooters waitresses because the person who was running Hooters at the time, or like that chain, was like filming the girls without their consent while making them try on Hooters uniforms, which is
I mean, not
illegal
shocking,
and
but
gross and disgusting and like a horrible thing that happened to her. But it's just interesting that, like, as we have seen over and over and over again, pretty much besides Katie, all of the people, I hate to say, like, besides Katie, but, like, Katie seems to be the most, like, normal of the bunch. Because besides her, everyone else coming into the show is, like, John Mayer's former, like, sex friend. Yeah. An amazing race contestant who was on a fake reality show about Mean Girls. A like model / formerly homeless person in New York City who was in the Puppet Master Axis of Evil.
Nazi Hunter direct-to-DVD movie involving puppets.
Yeah. So last but not least, I'm just going to quickly refresh everybody on the Beverly Hills episode that preceded the very first episode of Vanderpump Rules, where Scheana gets confronted by Eddie Cibrian's now ex-wife, Brandi Glanville, on a recent season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. At the time, this is in 2013, January 8th, 2018. 2013, excuse me. I'm getting this directly from Daily Mail. In a new episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Brandi Glanville comes face-to-face with her ex-husband's former mistress. The meeting came at the urging of Brandi's fellow TV housewife, Lisa Vanderpump. Not long after Brandi sits down, the pretty brunette, meaning Scheana, wipes her tears, admitting she is nervous and shaking, but has a lot to get off her chest. Brandi, stone-faced, is not having it. Quote, "Don't cry, really. I lost my family. I lost everything that I had. So if anyone's going to cry here, it's not going to be you." I also just love that, like, as far back as we've seen her on TV, she is truly, like, making it about herself. She's like...
She's like, shut
I'm
the hell
cry.
up.
I'm going to cry in front of the woman whose husband I cheated with is just like such a Scheana move. I'm not judging her. I'm not like putting like a moral failing on that, but it is just funny because it is like so Scheana. So according to Scheana, she says Eddie insisted he wasn't married and that he bought her jewelry, helped her move, met her mother, took her on vacations. And Brandi in the scene snaps, quote, "I know you were fucking my husband." And then later says this iconic read that ultimately sort of defined Scheana for a very, very long time in her life. Quote, "Look at where you are in your life and I'm in such a better place. I win." You know what I mean?
And like,
you know what?
Truly, we can say now the tables have completely turned.
The tables have turned. So there's one last thing I want to say about Scheana, and I'm getting this from Chicago Gay Pride. And I'm actually going to read it in my Scheana voice just because I want you to get the maximum impact out of this interview. Why don't you read for the interviewer? This is from 2013. This is from like fall 2013 during Pride season.
So how'd you wind up in LA?
I actually grew up there. I was born and raised, so that's what I have always wanted to do.
Did you always want to perform?
I did it when I was a kid, but the singing thing came later in life. I was acting for years. Then the opportunity to write a song came about. It was a hit, so it has been something I have always wanted to do, but I never expected I would.
How did you get on the show?
I worked at Villa Blanca for about 4 years. When the idea came up, Lisa coached me and told me I was doing this. I was a little apprehensive at first to do reality TV, but I am so happy I did. I have no regrets.
So what made you want to come out and perform in the gay clubs?
Sean invited me to come out here, and I think my song is such a hit for the gay dance clubs.
She's not wrong.
That's all I've got to say about Scheana.
She's not wrong.
Why don't you click on this New York Magazine article from May 13th, 2009. And if you're listening to this in a place where you can click articles and you're not driving or, you know, in a place where it will prohibit you from looking at your phone, I suggest you look at this too. Look at the middle photo of the top row of these photos.
Pops right out immediately.
And what do you see immediately?
A young Ariana Madix.
And this article is titled "What the Bartender Knows."
Also, she got a full Zooey Deschanel bang. Let's just say that real quick.
Full bang.
Yeah, and we'll have the photos on the IG. Just so you know.
Bang, full chunky highlight. This is 2009, and she's bartending at Butter, which is the funniest part of this. No, this is
hate that name so
funniest. This is the funniest part of this is that she was a bartender at Butter. So before Real Housewives ever was even like a thought in people's minds, Beverly Hills, I mean, and before Vanderpump Rules, before anything, and she gets interviewed as part of a bartender roundup of what people are drinking, where they're drinking, and who your bartenders are in Manhattan's hottest clubs. And it is a very quick thing. She doesn't get interviewed. She just answers questions. And her question that she gets is, what are some tricks you've seen used to cheat customers? And she says, autograt them. Hit the automatic gratuity button on the cash register, knowing they are drunk enough not to notice, and add additional tip. Ariana Madix, Butter. And I just love that. I think it's so funny. But this sort of sent me on a little hunt. Because I'm like, wait a minute. You know, Ariana sort of like, we know she wanted to be an actress. We know that she wanted to make it in New York. She studied theater. She says she's really into improv comedy. We know that she was working for a time at College Humor, or at least doing videos for College Humor. I saw this one that truly recontextualized my opinions about her, called Jackass for Girls, where her thing in Jackass for Girls.
I hate that era so much.
I think it was like, I'm going to try to curl my hair without any heat protecting spray or something. It was like, I'm going to take a dick, but I haven't had sex in a year. Or like, I'm going to wax and I've never done it before. Like, it's just like,
very that era,
very like anti-feminist nonsense where I'm just like, oh, cringe. I would obviously be so happy if I was Ariana that all of this got deleted from the internet when Dropout TV became College Humor, because it's like, or College Humor became Dropout TV, I guess, because you cannot see any of those videos now except if you know how to look for them on YouTube.
She also, once Scandal broke, she probably was like, let's get on that. Let's get that shit wiped.
Got it. So this set me on a little bit of a hunt, though, because I was like, was Ariana at all like appearing in the New York press? Because like this New York piece is in New York Magazine and she's at Butter, so she's clearly like in the know. And I knew she was working at College Humor at the time. So I was like, I wonder if she was getting any like New York centric stuff. And then I stumbled from that same year on this Page 6 article that really broke open the floodgates on an Ariana Madix that I did not know existed, truthfully. So this is from October 22nd, 2009. Mark Sanchez, a flirting machine. So Mark Sanchez was formerly the Jets quarterback, for context. And this is directly from Page 6. It is a little bit of a little small item, a gossip item in Page 6. It's like one paragraph blog. Mark Sanchez is quickly turning into a legend, but not for his football skills. The Jets quarterback was seen swapping numbers with a blonde bartender at Johnny Utah's on Monday night.
Oh my God.
Sanchez was celebrating his brother's 30th birthday with his family. The barkeep was model actress Ariana Madix, who played for the New York Majesty team in the notorious Lingerie Bowl. A spy said they were talking about football and Ariana asked for his number. A rep for Sanchez, who was linked to model Hillary Rhoda and then Jersey babe Jennifer Mueller, couldn't be reached. And I was reading this and I went, well, the New York Majesty?
Right.
She was playing for the New York Majesty? Also, what's the Lingerie Bowl?
Yeah.
I went, Lingerie Bowl? So then I want you to click on this second link, Ariana Madix for the New York Majesty.
Oh, yes.
What do you see here?
This picture is like taking me back completely. Seeing a blog that the format of which and the aesthetics of this .wordpress site takes me back a good 15 years. Ariana Madix is a hottie from October 23rd, 2009 by Lingerie Blogs.
Yes, and this is an archive. So I actually did Google Lens, reverse image Google search, everything on this photo. And I am so serious. Whatever this photo came from is lost to time.
Yeah,
because
it's definitely cropped of something more.
Not find it at all anywhere. Even like this little window, Google could not figure it out no matter what. I literally tried every combination of keywords and I could not find this photo at all on the internet. But she was named in 2006 the Cute College Girl of the Week. And it says in this that she plays for the New York Majesty, which was a short-lived lingerie football league that obviously did not go anywhere. There was the New York Majesty.
Horribly offensive.
It's horribly offensive. There's actually so many articles from the time calling it sexist and objectifying because it was like, oh, let's get women to care about sports and men to leer at them. So what if we put hot girls in bikinis and made them play football in the mud?
Yeah, that's exactly what I expected it to be.
And she signed up for that. I also want to say, and that's not a judgment on her, right? That is not a judgment. I'm just saying that like that is a side of Ariana that I'm like, God,
I want to hear about this.
You really have rebranded, and I would actually want to know more about that. Right?
She
like,
definitely
tell us about
has
the
never
lingerie
talked
ball.
about it in an interview.
No,
at all.
And I don't even want to imagine what happened. Obviously, I'm just saying, like, I wonder why she's never talked about it because I don't think people would judge her for it. But like, was it a horrible experience? Like, no matter what I looked for, I could not find any like oral history of the lingerie bowl that even mentioned her. This is the only mention I could find of her doing
Lost
this.
to the sands of time.
So I then was reading this though, and it says that she was named Cute College Girl of the Week by College Humor in 2006. And I was like, wait, what? That's another thing that I never knew about her. So I click on this other link that is a thing that I had to literally, Matt.
Yeah, I don't know where the fuck you found this.
Not available anywhere. I had to go on archive.org and actually use like a specific set of keyword searches to like find the saved link of this because it's been scrubbed now that College Humor doesn't exist anymore. Because it, you know, if you go to this link without the archive, it just takes you to Dropout TV, like the login page for that, and it's not like saved on Dropout TV at all, obviously. So this is a post from the College Humor staff on October 25th, 2006, titled Cute College Girl of the Week, Ariana Madix. And God, we used to just be a different fucking country, didn't we?
It feels like 100 years ago, socially.
Actually, wait, 2006 was...
nearly 20 years, 18
years ago, we were just, truly a different country where like we had websites that were like, here's a hot college girl in lingerie for you to ogle at, right? And it was like, people just didn't even bat an eyelash.
I mean, just the college humor of it all, like pre-YouTube college humor.
Yeah.
Which is even more bizarre.
I couldn't find anything about this because she doesn't really talk about college humor at all. But I think that this was actually how she got a start at College Humor and how probably she made that connection with College Humor.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Later, because she made a bunch of videos for College Humor and did like skits for College Humor and like worked at the website.
God, I'm
like,
dying to know if
videos.
she was in the background of Summer in clips that we just like cannot find now or someone's archive somewhere.
So let's read this. Name, Ariana Madix. Age, 21. This is from October 25th, 2006.
Yes.
Year, senior. School, Flagler College. Hometown, Melbourne, Florida. Major, theater arts. Favorite drink, Dos Equis Lager. Does size matter? Not if you know how to use it. What if I have 3 nuts? I hope one of those is an almond and all 3 aren't balls. What could I say to make you want me? I play soccer really well. Seriously. What could I say to make you throw up in your mouth a little bit? I want to have a family as soon as possible. I'd love to live in the suburbs forever. If I have a Discman instead of an iPod, should I even bother
Whoa.
listening to music at the gym? I hate to discriminate, but the answer is no. Don't even bother. You might hurt yourself.
The
you might
fact
hurt
that
yourself.
we're using the phrase Discman is like,
I know.
Really?
Do you have a boyfriend? Nope. More pictures of Ariana after the jump. If you or someone you know wants to be College Humor's Cute College Girl of the Week, just email intern Jake at cutecollegegirl@gmail.com.
God, the Jake.
And don't forget to include some pictures. If she wins, she gets a free busted tee. And then there's a bunch of photos of her as a cute college girl in Florida. And my favorite, which we will definitely be posting on social media, is this extremely cropped photo of her in front of a bunch of dirty dishes, posing like a Playboy bunny.
She's definitely in a frat house that I'm sure could tell stories.
She's in a frat house. There's like literally a sink piled up and overflowing with dirty dishes and a dirty floor, and she's standing in little black pumps and a Playboy bunny outfit with her ass to the camera, looking around all dutifully like, ha ha ha. And it just really was like, whoa. Like, just reading all of this, I was like, she has
intense.
lived such a wild life.
Yeah,
She's
it's completely different.
Never talked about dating a football player, let alone Mark Sanchez, the famous Jets quarterback. Like, that has like completely gone under the radar. The fact that she was like cute college girl of the week or played in like a lingerie football league, I was like, I really actually think, and we'll really talk about this next week, but like her life seems like it would have been so much better if she had never left New York.
I know, that's what's kind of upsetting about it.
It's kind of upsetting where I'm like, damn, of course LA gave you Vanderpump Rules, but you seem to really be like making it happen in New York in a big way. At least like getting press for like things like bartending and like Mark Sanchez and working at College Humor. Now, I have one last thing about her. And this is funny because like she seemed in New York to be throwing a lot of things at the wall, whether it was the aforementioned College Humor stuff or the bartending stuff. But one thing that never actually saw the light of day was a show that was a web series for NYU called Under the Arch, which is like a it's like a saying in NYU, like amongst the students about like walking under the arch or whatever. So it's supposedly was supposed to be a reality television show about college students in NYU and like their friends like trying to make it happen in the city, and they're all artists and actors, and like there's a trailer I'll show you after the episode, and I'll put the link in the description so that people can watch it. She's in like 0.5 seconds of it, but it's one of those things that's like a project that obviously never sees the light of day.
Right.
It seemed like it was a media venture from somebody who was actually working in media, and there's like a launch party that she gets photographed at and everything, like the launch party for NYU's Under the Arch, but it never goes anywhere. The YouTube has never uploaded a single episode in 15, 20 years. And there's like basically no evidence of it ever really existing. And the website perpetually said season 1 is still in production. It's coming out soon. And the sole comment, the singular comment on the trailer is, it's 2010 ... So where is season 1? ?
I mean, it's giving something
But
about her, honestly.
NYU recruiting for web show. This is from that same year, October 31st, 2009. This is in page 6. One of the show's stars, aspiring actress Ariana Madix, has become tabloid fodder after being linked to Jets quarterback Mark Sanchez, whom she met while bartending at Johnny, Utah's in Midtown. Sanchez stopped by again last week, this time playing beer pong against Yankees pitcher Joba Chamberlain until 1 a.m. Reports that I gave him my number and things like that are completely wrong. Maddox, who also plays for the New York Majesty lingerie football team, tells us, quote, I have a live-in boyfriend. Mark has come to hang out a few times. We're friends. And that's all we've got for this episode. It was a long episode, but there's a lot to get through.
An era
with
that
what this cast was up to.
I know she like has nightmares about this coming back somehow, like an archive being opened, much like what we're trying to do right now in this episode. Like the pictures, like even the pictures that we will be sharing, I was like, I'm not supposed to see this picture. Like, I'm not supposed to know this existed.
No.
She probably paid someone a lot of money to make sure that this does
My
not
favorite
come out.
of all the things that we watched this week is the, as you said, it's a Stassi It's a commercial that Stassi was in that was like a makeup test shoot for a brand that doesn't exist anymore. And it's like 180p. And you said it looked like it was filmed in a different dimension.
It really does, like as if we're looking through a wormhole to like see the footage.
There's also,
and we'll definitely post that on Instagram too, because it's fucking
There's
hilarious.
a short film for a jewelry company that Jax models in where it's like a rich famous couple and then he cheats on her and he uses jewelry to get her back. But it's like 5 minutes long and it really has no dialogue and it's weird. It's a weird commercial.
I love it though, honestly.
And then of course there's the famous Scheana driving the car commercial.
Of course.
Man, what an episode. Thank you for taking this ride. It was a little bit of a lighter episode just in terms of like there isn't as much like of a through line as in past episodes because it really is just sort of like a touchstone of where everyone was. So I hope you guys enjoyed. The next couple episodes are going to be a little bit more focused and narrative driven than this one. So I look forward to that. There's a lot going on in this world. There's a lot more to do. So let's keep it going. Let's keep this ball rolling.
I agree.
Do you got anything else you want to add before we get out of here?
I do not. I'm going to see Dune 2 tonight. So I'm just, honestly, that's my main priority.
And then we'll talk about it on Monday before we do the recap.
Ooh, yes. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Well, I love you guys. Thank you for listening to this podcast once again. Thank you for subscribing to Patreon, patreon.com/eating for free to get bonus episodes. There is no Beautiful Women updates this week just because I am having a lot of stuff go on this week between like my birthday and some parties and stuff and work stuff. So we are postponing. Now that Alex is back from vacation, also, we're going to get back to our regular schedule next week. And that's all I've got. So let's count us out. Ready? 3, 2, 1. You know that it's summertime. These are the best days of our lives. So just raise those glasses high. This one's for you tonight. Mwah. You've been listening to Eating for Free, a podcast created, co-hosted, written, researched, and produced by myself, Joan Summers, and Matthew Lawson, with original theme music by Sam Huntington of Crooks and Nannies. If you liked what you heard today, you can go to patreon.com/eating for free to get access to weekly bonus episodes, as well as access to my other podcast, Beautiful Women Updates, hosted by myself and Alex V. Green. You can also go to eatingforfree.com to get access to the links to our research from today's episode, as well as merch and so much more.